and got very aggressive with each other during a podcast when we did not talk about something beforehand and we did not agree with each other.
Well, we don't
Fair
have
enough.
to agree with each other. That's the point of a conversation.
Joseph,
It's
there is
more
a difference
entertaining
between,
if we don't agree.
No, there is a difference between an enjoyable conversation and two friends arguing into the ether and uploading it onto the internet. There is a difference between the two.
Isn't that the point of podcasts?
Can you stop banging? It's aggressive.
You're aggressive, Joseph.
I try to be. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on another steaming hot edition of Cup of Joes. My name is Joe Brown. I am joined by my best friend, Joe Perrion, and we have a very special guest, one of my bestest friends on the planet, Eric. Eric, my friend, how are you doing? Thank you for joining us on episode 55.
I'm doing fantastic, Joe Brown. Thank you both for having me on the show.
Now,
We're glad you're here. Also, I thought I was your bestest friend, Joe Brown.
didn't I say one of? For Eric? Didn't I differentiate? Can we go back on the tape?
I mean, I didn't want to bring it up. I was already a little bit offended that I wasn't introduced as the bestest friend, but I was willing to let it go for the sake of friendship.
Oh my god, I've somehow made you both upset over the same topic.
I think me and Eric now are the bestest of friends, and you're not invited to our birthday parties this year.
That's right. This is my podcast now. Goodbye.
See you later, loser.
Cup of Joe and Eric. Is that what your podcast is going to become?
We'll workshop it.
We're gonna do J.E. the podcast.
Oh,
Here we go.
Jerix. There you go. That's a bad idea.
Wow.
Anyway, so we have a couple of fun gaming topics we have on slate for this episode. One, we're going to go over the Xbox Games July showcase where they showed off Halo Infinite and a bunch of other things coming to Microsoft platforms near you. We're also going to go over the Ubisoft Forward 2020 event. That was another live stream event that showed off a bunch of Ubisoft's games, and Eric is going to lead us through that since he's played a lot more games than I have. I think I've pretty much only played Assassin's Creed 1 and Just Dance. That's my Ubisoft catalog. And then after that, at the end, we're going to have a fun discussion over The Last of Us Part 2, and you can be excited to listen because you're going to listen to three people who actually played the game, which I know is not very popular on the internet. People giving reviews of games that they don't play seems to be the norm, but we actually all played the game, and we're going to have a discussion about it. So are you boys ready to get into some gaming topics?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I got to wait on
I sense
Joe.
enthusiasm.
Okay, is this because Joe is not going to instantly buy an Xbox Series X to play Halo Infinite on a launch date that is still yet to be determined and a price point that is still yet to be determined?
Homie, I'm playing that on my PC, if anything. I'm not buying an Xbox.
Okay, when?
What do you mean when?
When are you playing it and for how much?
I don't know. For normal price? I'm not getting the collector's edition of that.
Because literally...
No? Come on, it's Halo. What are you doing?
I got the collector's edition of Halo 5 and I regretted it deeply. I'm not getting this one.
Oh,
Well,
hold on. Thank you, Eric. Continue.
I mean, I was just gonna say I saw Halo 5 as a train wreck from its first announcement trailer, so it's really on you. But
Well,
I don't know. You could take another leap of faith on Infinite.
Maybe. But that was before I was doing my whole committing to the bit and pre-ordering stuff. I had just bought that one the day of, and I was like, this looks cool. I'm going to start doing the collector's edition with these. And I bought that, and I was like, ugh.
Also,
sitting in my home in New Jersey.
There's no record of this, unfortunately. Oh, wait, there is. But I'm pretty sure we had a conversation where Joe directly said he didn't regret buying any of the special editions of games that I said he regretted. And now we're a couple minutes in, and he says he regretted Halo 5?
Joseph, you know when you prove me wrong on these things and then I do it to you and you cry about it later?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
I'm never wrong. So what do you?
You're okay, Joseph.
I
The
don't
sad thing is
name
I
a
don't
topic.
have access. I don't have access to any of the footage because you edit all of it and keep it.
Wow.
Oh, let me just send it. Let me send a
called you fake news.
gigantic hour-and-a-half long file over the internet to you, Joe. Let me just do that.
You do it every week, so I upload it onto Spotify.
Ooh, good plug. By the way, anyone listening to us on YouTube or Cup of Joe's podcast on Spotify, if you can see through the sea of 500 also Cup of Joe's podcasts, name the exact same thing, you're going to find us. You'll see our beautiful faces on there.
We also will probably put it in the description of this video for you on YouTube, or if you're listening to us on Spotify, you had it already, baby. Whatever.
There we go. Okay, let's actually start talking about the games. Or Xbox presentation in general. I will say some of the games I was excited about. We can go individually into specific games we enjoyed, but the frustrating thing is that this was, the middle/end of July. This presentation, we're roughly 3-ish months away from the potential launch window of these consoles in the holiday window, and we still do not have a release date, and we still do not have a price point, and that's the most frustrating part to me.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we don't.
Xbox.
Go ahead.
Sorry. All right. So Xbox has another event. I believe the rumbling is next month, and from what I'm hearing, we're talking about a possible price announcement at that point. I don't know how true that is. It seems to be rumored amongst all the other gaming podcasts that I'm listening to right now. But supposedly we might be looking at a price next month.
Listen, I just need one of these. I need either Father Sony or Daddy Xbox to give something. One of them needs to give something so that the other one will give something back. Because the minute one of them announces, the other one will immediately follow up because they can't wait for that. But I think that's what they're doing. They're both holding out. They're like, maybe.
I'm honestly expecting. I don't know who it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be Sony. But that PS5 with the disc drive, because they're trying to be cute and give out 2 models, is gonna be $600.
No, definitely not.
Totally gonna be $600.
They put the price points anywhere between $400 to $500, I believe.
When did they say that?
Sony specifically did that? Because I know Sony's been really
Amazon has leaked several different things for Sony and fucked it up for them.
Well, yeah,
I know they put up the landing
page on the PS5 or on
5.
other Sony related things.
On the PS5, but it's always in the UK. It's always not in America that they always end up leaking it. So in the UK Amazon page, it said that the PlayStation 5 was going to go for the digital one was going to be mid 300s, I think, euros, and then the disc one was going to be 400. Mid 400.
I'm not gonna lie, that sounds like wishful thinking to me.
It probably is, but I'm gonna hold them to it.
Yeah, that would be honestly. That sounds like best case scenario.
I think $600 is a little much, though.
I wouldn't be.
PS3 was $600.
Surprised, and that honestly that shut down the PS3 for the generation.
Mm-hmm. Everyone bought the 360 because of it.
Yeah.
Yep. Honestly, that 600 price point destroyed the PlayStation 3, but I think people are more likely to eat it to the face for Sony right now.
It's an interesting thing to say.
I honestly think so, because honestly, think about it. When you think about the games lineup.
Oh, no. You're right about that. I'm talking about the phrase you use.
Eat it to the face.
Eat it to the face. I agree with you. Sony's got the better lineup, but eat it to the face is just a weird thing to say.
I get. That's just the euphemism I always go to. But I think more people the next one I have lined up is not any better. So I think people are more willing to swallow it for.
Oh my god! I've only got 2 phrases. I either say "eat it to the face" and "swallow it."
Oh man!
What do you want me to say?
And if you don't like it, you could suck it up. All right.
Man, it's like it's almost like saying, yeah, I think people are more willing to take it hard.
Oh my God,
this
Joe.
way.
I
People are more
understand what
willing
you're
to bite
saying,
the
Eric.
pillow, if you would.
That
Oh
people
my-
are more willing to pay the higher price now than they were in the PS3 console generation because of how advanced the technology is and how Sony has really gained so much trust from so many gamers
Exactly.
because of how good how well they handled the PS4 generation.
Yeah, Sony has built up a lot of goodwill over the course of this generation to the point where I think people are going to see like a higher price point and be like, well, God of War 2 though, and they'll buckle up for it.
You might be right.
Well, anyway, back to Halo Infinite. In the Xbox presentation that we were talking about. So obviously,
I'm not a Sony pony, I promise.
Halo Infinite was the first game that they showed off. I think that makes the most sense. I think we would have got really agitated if they made us wait for Halo, so it was smart to start with that.
Yeah, a game that should have probably stopped being like 2 games ago, but whatever.
That's a discussion for later on in this podcast about how certain sequels don't need to exist. But anyway, since it does exist, what were your initial thoughts from seeing the Halo Infinite gameplay finally? Because at this point we had only ever seen the cinematic trailer. We did not see gameplay until this presentation.
It's a Halo skin to Destiny. That's what I'm feeling. It's literally what I felt like when I watched it.
I didn't think that when I first watched it, but that seems fair. Honest to
Like,
God.
You opened the world of Halo, and now I'm going to drive around in it on all these different vehicles, doing all these different missions, and doing story missions. And my friends told me that they didn't see this, but I guarantee you there's going to be a grind in this game. You will have to find something.
Oh,
in this
absolutely.
game constantly.
But I'll be honest with you, I came away from that trailer being a lot more positive on it than I think a lot of other people were. But I also say that as someone who really isn't that big of a fan of Halo, because then I suck at FPS games in general. That's just who I am. But
core being.
I thought it looked like a lot of fun just on the demo that they had, quote unquote demo. Just the demo that they had in that trailer. I thought the shooting was a lot of fun. I always felt endeared to the little aliens that screamed and panicked whenever you shot them. And then when they pulled up the map in the middle of the demo, I was like, oh, we're working with something really huge here, because they're not going to show you the entire map. They're just going to show you a small fraction of it. And even the small fraction that they gave us seemed to be really detailed and really, at least for the demo, pretty expansive. So I don't know. I thought it looked pretty good, and then all of a sudden the next day I wake up to a bunch of memes just trashing the graphics of it.
That's because people were not happy that it looked like original Halo.
But that's what I liked about it. That's what I was going to say. Was I like that it was more like the first 3 Halos and not like Halo 4 or Halo 5. That's what endeared me to the gameplay, was the visuals.
I thought it looked great. It looks like a good It looks like a good game. It looks like it's going to be great. But
I agree.
I'm tired of open worlds.
I agree 100%. I can't fault you on that.
Oh my god, I'm so tired of them. I get so overwhelmed with what you want me to do in this game. But
well, I think not to go off on a tangent here of, aside from the Microsoft conference we're supposed to be talking about, but I think the benefits to open worlds from a business perspective is that it takes up a lot of your mind share. You're going to spend a lot more time roaming around an open world than you would in playing a linear game, getting through it, finishing it, and then moving on to the next game. That's not the game that they want you to play.
Mm-hmm.
So if you build an open world filled with a bunch of stupid side missions and collectibles and stuff, you're going to put a lot more hours into that game and probably put a lot more money into it if there's microtransactions. So I think that's kind of what the underlying goal is here with an open world Halo Infinite. Although I think they said they weren't expecting to put microtransactions in this game.
Yeah, I don't think they. Yeah.
I believe they said that.
Do they realize it's 2020? Is that allowed?
I know, right?
Can you make a video game that's just good and doesn't need gross microtransactions?
But Microsoft's like base games never really have a ton of microtransactions in them, do they?
Yeah, but think of the genre that they're in. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like the
I got
season
you.
passes and the gun skins and the, a million things that shooters really adopted. Like
Yeah.
the one thing I'm interested in is we still, and this could just be the internet ruining it for everybody. Like we still don't know about a potential battle royale Halo mode, and like Call of Duty has it now. When Halo Infinite was first announced, the rumor was that the whole game was battle royale, not like a full-fledged sequel with a story. Like, so I was expecting maybe we saw something with that, but like maybe that's just going to be a part of, if it is for a real thing to begin with, maybe that won't come until like after launch.
I
I'm
hope
not
that
gonna lie to you. So go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna say I hope the Halo franchise has enough respect for itself that it doesn't do that. But
I'm gonna say, like, I can't remember which podcast that I was listening to that talked about it, but they were talking about how they could see just like all of the Spartans, i.e., the players, in just like the drop ship, and then all of a sudden you hear Cortana on the radio, Spartans, get ready for drop. And honestly, that visual alone sold me on a Halo Battle Royale mode.
100%. I want one. I don't care if it's
That-
cliche. I want a Halo Battle Royale.
I'm so tired of them. I'm so tired of battle royale.
To be fair, I only play one, so I haven't had a chance to be burnt out yet.
Which one?
Apex Legends.
Mm-hmm.
But you got something to say?
No.
That's what I thought.
Hey, Eric and I have had our fair share of first places in Apex, our own chicken dinners, okay?
Okay.
So I think...
Are you playing Fortnite over there like a scrub?
Excuse me?
No, worse. He's playing PUBG for 900 hours.
I have literally played almost every battle royale.
Okay.
Almost every battle royale.
And
I tried Fortnite, crash. PUBG was the first one that came. I've been playing PUBG since 2016, or I played it since it came out, and I stopped playing it. I did play Apex Legends, stopped playing that. What other one came after that? That was so big.
I think that was it. Because I think all the other battle royales have kind of just came and went.
Yeah, like Rogue Royale and...
Like,
I played that.
Came and went in the space of like 2 days.
Oh, I have that game that I not even tried.
So do I.
I
watched the stream until I got a drop, and then I never bothered to try it.
Yeah, neither did I. And now it's Warzone.
Oh, right, I forgot about Warzone.
But Apex Legends was fun for a bit. Warzone, I will say, I feel like is the more polished battle royale. Like all the mechanics that are that you like look for in a battle royale are in it because Call of Duty has done all those mechanics and they just brought it over. Like there's mounting the gun onto the cover. There's like crouching, crawling, zooming, flying helicopters, flying and like driving in cars, like doing all that stuff. They've done.
Yeah, I remember I watched a trailer and some dude in the trailer just got shredded by helicopter blades. I was just like, oh my god.
Yeah,
That is just disgusting.
Yeah, that's why I didn't like about Apex that they didn't have any vehicles in it. I didn't like that. That was like one thing I did not like about the game. But other than that,
the movement in Apex is so good that you don't need vehicles.
It's very fun. It's very fun to hit to crouch and slide down a hill.
It is. But it got old quick. Like it's the same crap. Like once you play one battle royale, you pretty much played them all.
Okay, so my question then is if Warzone, I'm trying to not cough right now since I'm talking and not muting my mic. If Warzone's good enough with how Activision was able to make it effectively pretty much their regular game, which is good, but turning it into a battle royale because they have all the resources and they're good developers, couldn't you argue Microsoft also has the resources and developers to make a good Halo battle royale?
Joseph,
resources, yes. Developers, questionable.
The question doesn't matter because I didn't say they couldn't do it. I said I don't want them to do it. They can definitely do it, and it'll probably be great. But I'm tired of them. That's all we've had for the past 5 years. Just battle royale.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna do another one. How many more franchises are we gonna make a battle royale out of?
I think a Halo battle royale has the potential to really take over
The
at
genre?
least for maybe not the entire genre, because the power of Fortnite is really strong, but it has
I hate that.
it has the potential to be a strong contender.
I agree.
Like Apex Legends has had a real, I wouldn't say that it struggled because apparently the player base for that game is still really strong, but when Warzone launched, it really sucked a lot of the momentum out of Apex's wings, which is two mangled analogies put together, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, but I think a Halo Battle Royale has A, the name recognition of Halo, and B, the player base that's just going to go into Halo Infinite by default, which is going to be which is going to be a huge broad audience, like more than the hardcore gamers like us. It's going to be in almost every household, depending on how the Series X sells, which I think it will.
Especially if it's
I
free,
think-
right?
Yeah, and especially if it's free. It's going to be on Game Pass.
Ooh.
$15 a month for Game Pass.
I'm just
We're really overlooking that too, that aspect of it. But it's gonna have the player base, and if they make a battle royale for Halo that is actually really good, then it's gonna punch through. I swear to God, it's gonna shoot to the top of Twitch. It will stand. It will stand amongst the top tier of battle royale games if they do it. I don't think they will, at least not initially, but it definitely has that potential.
The thing that kind of annoys me a little bit about Xbox at the moment is how good they are in this moment about keeping, like, being like, hey, you don't have to buy the Xbox X. We are still supporting all Xboxes forward. We're going to continue to do that. We're for the players. We're doing this for the players. Here's this pass that gives you games that you can play for free or whatever. But it's just like, dang, Xbox, dang, you really doing it for us.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, it's like, but you got nothing I want right now. You have nothing that I want at this moment. But
well, I mean, maybe not first party, but there's still plenty of third party games that I think make Game Pass a really tantalizing option.
Yeah, definitely. And
I have actually a pretty concrete example already of Xbox Game Pass working out for me on PC at least, because I've been floating around this Paradox Interactive game called Stellaris, which, if you've paid attention to Paradox Interactive, they're the people who publish City Skylines and Crusader Kings and a bunch of Civilization-like games. I can't remember what that genre is called. I think they're called like 6X Civilization game. That goes into lexicon I don't fully understand. But they publish games like that. And Stellaris is essentially like this high sci-fi Civilization game that I really wanted to get. And it was on sale on Steam.
Yeah.
And then I missed the sale on Steam. And then I was just browsing through Game Pass one day because I got Game Pass with my graphics card. And it was on Game Pass.
What graphics card we got though? We gotta know.
Radeon RX 5700 XT.
Ooh.
Is that a good ooh?
Yeah, it's a good ooh.
I was gonna say I'm waiting for the type of ooh that was.
I need some context for your ooh.
I said ooh, nice.
Nice. No, but that game is on Game Pass, and I've actually been really enjoying that game. And I don't know how long it's going to be on Game Pass, because Game Pass does have, like, the third parties do rotate with Game Pass. They come in, they come out, and so on. But if it comes off of Game Pass, like, I would not be opposed to actually buying that game again, which is the whole point of Game Pass. So, I mean, it works.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, I think simultaneously the biggest pro and con of this presentation is that every game that they showed off is going to be on Game Pass, which is really good for the Xbox player base because they're not spending $60 each. Instead, they're paying $15 a month. But at the same time, the con of it to me is like, I remember when I was watching it, and like, you know, we were talking in our group chats or whatever, and like talking or just seeing random reviews on the internet. Like Xbox fans are like, this is great. Every game they showed is on Game Pass. But then also it's like, well, then why do I need to buy the new Xbox if Game Pass is also on PC? Why can't I just play it on PC? You know what I mean? So it's not like anything enticed me to wanting to buy an Xbox Series X console.
But that's the thing that Xbox is going for now, which is something I can kind of get behind. That they're just like, they don't care if you buy the newest system.
That's what it seems like, yep.
They want you to just play their game.
But their investors care if you buy the new system.
But the thing is, their investors don't care if you buy their system. As long as you're playing Xbox games, they're making money. If you get the Game Pass, that's $15 a month, or even like $15, like if you pay the full price for the whole year, they have that money and they have you for a whole year that is opening you to all of these games that you play and that you play a lot of, that they suddenly remove from the pass, the Game Pass. Who knows if you're going to buy that game or not? You could buy that game. Like
and you've seen plenty of third-party developers who come out and said, "Yeah, Xbox Game Pass has been really good for us."
Yeah, like it's a good move, and that's what like makes me kind of like a little frustrated about it, because I'm like, Xbox is like doing a pretty good thing for like their community,
right? But it's not going to make them as much as what Sony's going to make by making people buy the PS5.
Exactly, that's
yeah. It depends on the pricing. It depends on how they price the PS5. Because if it's like Joe predicted and sitting around $300 to $400, they're gonna take a bath on those consoles with the expectation of making that money up long term with software.
Yeah.
I guess it also, in that logic, it gets a little murky with how Xbox plans to be profitable, because I can't imagine making a crazy expensive console like that and then, you know, saying, "Oh, we don't care if anyone buys it, just sign up for Game Pass."
Right.
With the possibility of no one buying your freaking console. And then here you are sitting with an expensive console on shelves that no one's picking up because, hey, we've got a PC, we don't need it.
But not like that's us.
Right.
That's, like,
we're a small subset of gamers.
I feel like, yeah, we're like the people who play on PC that care about what's going on with Xbox aren't necessarily like the people that are going to buy the Xbox. The Xbox is going to go to the people that don't necessarily have a PC, like your friend James, who doesn't really play games but has an Xbox that he plays sometimes. Like, those are the people that are going to pick up the new Xbox. Where for us, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that it, like, what you're saying is absolutely true. Like, if we have a gaming PC, Xbox is really not talking to us right now.
Well, yeah, the whole thing about buying the new Xbox, they're not talking to us. But that Game Pass, they're talking directly to us.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, we want you to come from your PC and play the Xbox, but on your PC. We want you to do.
And apparently they're just rolling xCloud into Game Pass Ultimate for no extra charge. So again, why would you not get Game Pass?
That's the whole thing. But then again, who knows what could happen? Like, going back to our original topic, the conference itself, the entirety of the conference, they started with Halo, and they went through a bunch of different games. Of course, they announced another State of Decay. Forza's always up there, so they announced another one of those. Then we started getting into like the ones we haven't really heard of, because they have a lot of indie developers under them that they're now throwing in and like opening up more to them. Games like, what is this? Everwild and Tell Me Why. Then we got Ori. An
upgraded version of Ori. I gotta play that.
It's the next one.
Yeah, the sequel, The Will of the Wisps.
Will of the Wisps. And then we have, I guess I missed the expansion to the Outer Worlds.
I'm hyped for that. I'm excited for that.
I need to play the Outer Worlds.
I really, really, really liked the Outer Worlds. It's not the best one of those RPGs, just because. Let me not even say that, because it is still pretty good in its own merits. Just graphically, it's not as strong, which is not like a huge issue for me. But it was the Firefly RPG I've always wanted.
Heck yeah, and that makes me more excited to even.
So I'm really happy to play that game, and after this conference, I really wanted to replay it. And I was like, oh, but my PS4's been crapping out because The Last of Us 2, which we'll get to when we come to that section of the conversation. How am I going to play that game again? And then, holy crap, it's on Game Pass!
Yeah.
So I can just download it on the PC, which I'm going to do, like, probably tomorrow after this. And then I'm going to get the DLC for free when that comes out.
Heck yeah.
That, for me, I was really excited to see new Outer Worlds stuff.
Okay, then after that we have
Obsidian's new RPG that looks like Skyrim kind of ish.
Sorry.
I call it Pyrim because it rhymes with
Pyrim.
Pyrim.
I'm really interested to see what that turns into, because Bethesda needs someone to kick him in the teeth a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, who better than Obsidian right now?
Yeah.
So I'm really interested in seeing what that game ends up being. We're probably not going to see it again for like a year or two.
I hope not. I hope we see it a lot earlier. I hope we see it before Bethesda's next Skyrim.
No, I think it's far off because they're doing the Outer Worlds DLC now, and all we saw was a cinematic of what's it called? Avowed. That's what it's called. Avowed.
Right, Avowed.
So like, I think it's pretty far off for Obsidian. I could be wrong.
Maybe, but I'm just saying. I hope it's sooner than Bethesda's Skyrim.
It might be. I don't know, because Outer Worlds came out last year, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
Fall of last year, and almost a year later, we're getting that DLC. And they had a smaller team working on Grounded, which is also just about to release. So there's a possibility that we will see Avowed again sometime next year, in like probably in their E3 presser. If E3 comes back, which after this year, please God, let it happen. Probably if that were the case, I would imagine it would launch fall of 2021 into spring of 2022.
Yeah,
that's best case scenario for that for the development of that game, because Obsidian doesn't really have anything else on their plate right now after Grounded and the Outer Worlds DLC goes out the door. So I think that seems like a reasonable time frame for them.
Yeah, I think we could see that. And then after that, we got moving on in the conference. I'm sorry. After that, we have As Dusk Falls, which seemed like a pretty interesting game. I don't know if you guys remember this one. It kind of follows like three different people or three different like groups of people going through the same experience together. I don't
remember, honestly.
It's like at a gas stop.
Was As Dusk Falls the one with that family that happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time and that gas station gets robbed?
Yeah. It looks like you play as the family, you play as the robbers, and you play as the store owner or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then it all kind of like comes together later on in life. Like something crazy happens in that store.
Right.
Besides the robbery. Like something else crazy happens.
I'm not against that game. It's just another one of those Telltale likes that I burned out on after Tales from the Borderlands.
Ooh, good one.
That's
good
pick.
One.
Yeah.
Pick.
But I really love Tales from the Borderlands, but after that I never played another one of those visual novel-esque games. So I missed out on like Life is Strange. And
I'm not a fan of that one. Joe is, though.
Well, I was gonna say I actually feel bad for the As Dusk Falls, because it also in this event was was Don't Nod's new game, Tell Me Why, which Don't Nod makes the Life is Strange games, and I am that Telltale style story game is one of my favorite genres. Like I played like pretty much I'd say probably over half of Telltale's games they made. Don't Nod, I played every Don't Nod game. Like, so I was really, the game I was most excited seeing in this press conference was Don't Nod's new game, Tell Me Why, which comes out in August, episode 1 at least. Usually I like to wait until like every episode's out at once so I can just like run through it, but that's crazy that like their new game is coming out next month.
Did Microsoft purchase Don't Nod, or are they just
They're probably just under them
right now?
Yeah, I don't think they
I don't think so either. I don't know. This might lead to them being purchased.
Oh wait, this is crazy. Okay. It's returning to an episodic format with Chapter 1 hitting Xbox One and PC on August 27th. Though the series will also grace Xbox Series X, it's going to have quicker succession in episodes, considering the studio confirmed on Twitter that Chapter 2 will release on September 3rd and Chapter 3 on September 10th. That's insane for these episodic games. 3 episodes in 3 weeks. That's awesome.
It's pretty quick.
I think that's what those episodic games needed, though, because I bet you
they do
that
need
a lot of people were falling off of like those longer episodic games. I think it happened in Life is Strange too.
I think a lot of people didn't finish Life is Strange 2 because it took over a year to finish.
Yeah, it took so long for those episodes to come out.
Oh my gosh, wow.
And that schedule is a lot better.
Yeah,
I will say, one of my favorite episodic games is The Wolf Among Us. That is
I never got past the first episode of that game, but it's so good. Even the first episode alone was just really impressive.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That's why I'm excited for the second one to come out.
Oh, that is happening.
That is happening, yeah.
With the skeleton of Telltale, the skeleton of Telltale Games.
Yeah. Hey man, if they were gonna make a game, I'm happy it's that one.
What was the name of that movie that everyone references where it's where they're literally like holding up a corpse to like animate it?
Weekend at Bernie's.
Weekend at Bernie's. Yeah. That is literally Telltale Games right now.
Yeah, holding it. Yeah, and he's holding a sign that says "Wolf Among Us 2."
We'll see how that turns out.
Yeah. So then, as the conference comes to somewhat of a close, and by somewhat of a close, I mean I think at least 7 games left. We talk about
Senua Saga, Hellblade 2.
The Senua Saga, the second Hellblade that's coming out, and they tell us where it's taking place and all this other stuff. They didn't really show us a lot of the gameplay, but they showed us like more of the environment that they based it off of. Then Psychonauts 2, I'm excited for that.
With a Jack Black music video?
I was pumped.
Someone explain Psychonauts to me.
It's a psychedelic platformer.
Yeah, it's essentially that. You go into other people's minds and kind of like help them solve their biggest issues.
And there's puzzles.
By not going too deep into their mind. It's like the whole thing, don't go too deep or whatever. Then of course we have the new Destiny 2 expansion.
I want to pause on this.
Okay.
Because this is such a winner for both Bungie and Microsoft.
I was going to say this was the biggest shock to me in this entire event. This was the biggest news.
Is the biggest announcement that no one is talking about.
The fact that Bungo and Microsoft are friends again?
Well, that and the fact that you're getting an entire MMO, not just the expansion, but all of the previous like events and all that stuff, all of that is gonna be on Game Pass.
That's
like
incredible.
There is no barrier to entry now to play Destiny 2,
right?
Aside from $15 a month.
Yeah.
They made it so much easier for people who normally don't pay attention to Destiny 2. People like me, because I'm not a huge Destiny person, for my ears to perk up and be like, oh, Destiny 2 is going to be on Game Pass now? That's a huge shift for me. Because even I'm considering jumping into Destiny when it's on Game Pass. Because I don't want to pay full price for Destiny 2, and then I don't want to pay for the expansion. So then if it's all going to be on Game Pass, why wouldn't I just jump in there?
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah, to me, like, the marketing standpoint of... we all remember how Destiny started with Activision Blizzard being super greedy and having all the exclusives on PS4, and then they gated the release dates between consoles and PC, and they had all the like stuff like, and Xbox One like waited over a year for some of the content that PS4 had right away. Like, so the fact that Destiny 2's newest expansion shows up in a Microsoft conference instead of Sony, or instead of just Bungie's own, like, you know, unrelated press event, like, that was literally mind-boggling to me when I watched when I was watching this, that whatever happened, maybe Activision was the problem between the two companies, but like, it seems like Bungie and Microsoft have been able to bury the hatchet and like work to make the best game possible instead of trying to make sure people played it on only one platform to spite Xbox. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, big respect to Bungie for being, you know, splitting off from Microsoft in the first place, because that's a huge risk for your game development company just at the start. And then being able to build a whole MMO out of that, and then build a whole sequel to that MMO out of that, to the point where the company you split off from originally has to acknowledge your success and want you on their platform again. That has to feel so good for the CEO of Bungie, whoever that is, because I really don't.
It's me. I'm CEO.
May as well.
All right, let's blast through some of these other games. Stalker 2 got a new trailer. I'm not really too familiar with the first Stalker.
Apparently, that's like a big thing for old school PC gamers, but couldn't tell you.
Warhammer 40K Dark Tide. That one, I saw a lot of people talking about how cool that one looked.
Fun. It looks fun. The Warhammer, like, it's like a Left 4 Dead-esque like game, because they got their
Warhammer stuff.
Well, they already have another one that's like this. It's called Warhammer Vermin, or it's called Vermintide, and it takes place in the Warhammer universe. This one, I think, takes place after that, and it looks fun. I'm cool to get behind it. Moving on though.
And I don't know, and you don't have to paint your own characters in that video game, so that's exciting. Tetris Effect Connected. Everybody loves a good Tetris game. This one actually had a really cool video with all the different people, and then they were like put into the blocks and placed down. It was pretty interesting. But there's
never played Tetris Effect. I've only ever heard people say good things about it, though.
Exactly.
So I'm really interested in having a chance to play this game.
And then The Gunk is the latest game from Steam World Dev. So The Gunk, to be honest, I really don't remember this one.
I don't either.
The last 10 minutes or so, my internet actually went out in my house, so I didn't know about the Fable video until Eric and our friends were chatting about it, talking about OMG Fable, because I didn't actually see it because I had no internet. But Bloober Team's The Medium. It's a creepy trailer. Fanny's.
Oh, that game looked really cool.
Ooh.
I was excited. I was excited about that one.
And it's apparently really significant because they have the ability to render two different game worlds at the same time, which is only really doable on this new next gen technology. So it's really interesting to see how that plays out.
Phantasy Star Online 2, or New Genesis, it says before it. I'm not really familiar with that series. I know a lot of people have been loving it since I think it just recently came over to the West, if I'm not mistaken.
That flies over my head. Can't tell you anything.
Yeah, me too.
Let's see. Crossfire's Remedy co-developed campaign. Nothing there.
Yeah, so Crossfire X is this huge multiplayer first-person shooter. But the big announcement here is that Remedy is working on a single-player campaign for that game.
Yeah.
Cool, okay. I guess.
And then we have Fable. So what do you guys think of Fable?
Hype train! I'm so happy. That's all I wanted. I've said multiple times, like, if they announce a new Fable, I am a lock for the Series X. But realistically, I have a gaming PC, so that's not as solid as it sounds. But
they still heard you. That's what matters.
They did. I will be playing this game. There's no question about it. I don't know when it's gonna come out. I don't know when it's gonna happen. I keep hearing people say it's gonna be like 2 years out, and I really don't want that to be the case. But I am here for a new Fable. That's all I wanted from this gen.
Well, you got it.
I am the hype.
Hype train. I'm whatever. I don't really. Yeah.
Well, I think
Good
Fable
insight.
Fable really etched itself into the history of gaming as being one of the originators, because even though it's not like the first game to do it, but it is one of the original games to really hang itself on player choice
Right.
and
Yeah.
like your decision actively having an impact on the world. And personally, I think to this day, it still is one of the best games that have managed that type of system. Like all the other games that you have nowadays, like your Mass Effects, I guess technically your Dragon Ages, like all of the games that you have today that, you know, base themselves around player choice, really only have as much clout as they do because Fable, you know, stumbled over itself a little bit to let that happen. So I'm really excited to see how they're going to rework that series for the next gen. Not to mention, I think it's Lionshead Studios and Peter Molyneux is nowhere near this game. It's Playground Games, which is the developer of Forza Horizon.
Mm.
So I'm really just interested to see what they do with it, because that's a huge genre shift from an open world racing game. So I'm really interested in seeing what they do with the Fable IP.
Well, you at least know it's going to look good with Forza. You know what I mean?
Yep,
Yeah. It's gonna look good.
I think it'll look great.
And then just last note on Microsoft before we move on, the one we kind of just glanced over it quickly. The other game that looked exciting to me was Rare's new game, Everwild. That had a trailer, and it was like it's kind of like a fantasy-ish world with like these big animals and like lights and magic and stuff. That one looked visually, at least, because it was just a trailer, no gameplay. That looked pretty cool to me.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
I was pretty enraptured by that trailer. I liked it a lot.
So let's move on to the Ubisoft Forward recap, and they showed off a lot of their heavy hitters like Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Watch Dogs Legion, more Far Cry and stuff. So, like I said before, I'm really not too well versed in Ubisoft. I only know my friend, excuse me, my friend Aisha Tyler likes Ubisoft games when she's hosting those events.
Oh, Lord, yes, yes,
Yeah.
Aisha Tyler.
So if you guys really want to try to handle this conversation more, giving us a quick recap on what went down with these Ubisoft games.
We can do our best because from my perspective, there really isn't that much to talk about here because they didn't go over much stuff that was new. But it started with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and they really only just showed a trailer of like battle sequences and like really lightly talked about like the settlement building that you do in that game. But I don't know. For me, when I watched that trailer, I thought it looked pretty good. It was a more violent Assassin's Creed game, realistically, but it looked beautiful. It looked like it played smoothly. So I don't know. It looks pretty strong.
It looks like a good game. I'm excited about it. Like, I've liked the Assassin's Creed franchise since it came out. But it looks like to me it looks better. It looks like it's going in a better direction than what it's
they got their hooks into me for this, at least to have me interested, because I'm always on board for settlement building and stuff like that.
Yes.
Like I really liked the idea of like management stuff in games like this. So that they have me on board at least for the settlement aspect of this. Like, for example, I really, really liked Assassin's Creed 2 Brotherhood because he literally took control of, like, a small sect of, like, the Assassin's Guild. Assassin's Creed, whatever you call their group.
The Creed.
And I think to this day, I think to this day, Brotherhood to me is still like the best Assassin's Creed game. And this isn't exactly the same thing, you know. This is just you building up a Viking settlement, but I'm on board for it. I'm here for it.
Eric, you just sounded like a mom calling every console a Nintendo with your Assassin's Guild Creed, whatever that's called.
Well, look, it's not my fault they dipped so far away from their main storyline that I have no idea what to call their group anymore. All right, they just call themselves the Assassins.
Or the Creed.
That's like it.
And then after
that, we got The Legion. Then after that, we got our next big look at Watch Dogs Legion,
Heck
which
yeah.
is the game I was actually here to see.
I'm down for it.
It started out with this cute little cinematic trailer of a guy running through the city being chased by cops,
Caps.
and then led into some gameplay of what that game is supposed to be. So, as they say, you can recruit literally anybody you see in the world, which is a huge, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Selling point.
Deal.
Selling point, yes, but I think what I'm meaning is it's like huge shoes to fill. It's a big claim to make.
Okay.
We'll see how that ends up going in practice, because there's no way you can populate an entire city of London and have every character recruitable and have every character be interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you could have a lot of blank slates that would they're just there for volume and not for like value. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it could be like randomized stats and randomized like abilities.
Right. I think that's what they're going for here, and they showed off like a construction worker who's got a big gigantic wrench and a nail gun. So I mean, that alone is pretty interesting to me. Like, you think I'm not gonna want to run through the world shooting a nail gun at people? Yeah, sign me up.
It looks interesting, and it looks fun. The gameplay that they showed looks fun because it gives you like, it's like in more of like what would you say, like we're going into the future more with this one. Like we in Watch Dogs 2 and 1, I guess you could say we were more like grounded in the present.
Correct.
Whereas this one is kind of like jump starting us into a future of constant connection to the internet and constant
in the world of their original press conference, it's a post-Brexit London.
Ooh, I do.
But no! Don't take it the wrong way. None of Ubisoft games are political.
They're never political, ever.
They're never political.
No
I just want to
politics.
play as the old ladies. Like, can I just
Oh,
go
yeah.
with
That is
those
my
old
goal,
ladies?
honest
That's
to
my
God.
goal.
I'm gonna have like multiple playthroughs, and I'm gonna have one where it's just all old ladies all the time.
Yeah.
I will say this: I've been playing Far Cry New Dawn. I think that's what
How's
it's
that
called.
going?
It's fun because I played 5 and it picks up after the world of 5, and it's kind of interesting. It's a mix of both. I would say that it's a mix of Far Cry and Fallout a little bit. It's an interesting game, but
I'm gonna jump into those games soon because Ubisoft had a sale around the same time as their Forward event. It was like $3 for Far Cry 3, $6 for Far Cry 4, and then $9 for Far Cry 5.
yeah,
And I fell for it.
good. You should get into them. Far Cry 3 is a very, very good game. 4, 5, yes.
I think I bought 3 and 5.
Okay, good move.
And then
What I was saying was for Far Cry New Dawn is that in these games you get like recruitments for people. Like you have to find these like special characters that can help you. And there's a character in there. Her name is Nana. She's like apparently extremely old, but she's like the best sharpshooter in the entire game, and she teaches you how to snipe. And it's very funny because you meet her and she goes, yes, I know what you're thinking. That woman's got a body of a 30-year-old and a face that looks like a scrotum set out in the sun for 30 years. And I was just like, I love this woman. She is amazing.
All right, you just told me on Far Cry. Here we go.
They're fun games. They have like good humor in them.
And then after that, Ubisoft gave some new information on Hyperscape and Brawlhalla. Mainly that Brawlhalla is coming to Android and iOS devices, so
Cool.
Hooray. And I don't know, no one's jumped into like hyperspace, right?
No.
Hyperscape, excuse me.
No, haven't. Need to, but haven't.
Yeah. I think it has an interesting concept of having viewers on Twitch vote for different things that affect the game, like zero gravity or infinite ammo, stuff like that. But It seems more gimmicky than anything else. And then they announced Tom Clancy's Elite Squad, which is a mobile game and an opportunity for Ubisoft to once again tease the Splinter Cell fans with a random appearance from Sam Fisher.
That's what he does best.
Well,
Not
Ubisoft
make his own games.
Pop it other
Ubisoft
games.
just enjoys diddling the Splinter Cell fans.
Oh
Just
my
walking
god.
away.
Yeah,
Jeez.
it's a hard pass
Yeah.
for me.
And then they announced another mobile game named Might and Magic, Era of Chaos. But realistically, that's all. That's like the final announcement from Ubisoft. It really wasn't that much. Valhalla and Watch Dogs Legion. Oh, and they closed with Far Cry 6, but that leaked a week ahead of time.
Yeah.
So, you know, take that for what it is. It stars Giancarlo Esposito, which makes me happy.
Yeah, it looks just like him. It's crazy, the
He-
graphics.
It is him.
No,
Dude,
I
yeah.
know.
Nailed it.
I'm saying like how far we've come with graphics.
But
Like,
even-
he hardly looks like a video game character. He looks like a
Yeah.
human person.
I was gonna say in Far Cry 3, the villain looks almost exactly like they did a very good job in that game of making the character look just like the person that played him, and same thing with 5. Like it's
Remember this conversation for when Fast and Furious Crossroads comes out.
no.
Oh, you mean Michelle Rodriguez and her favorite video game, Tekken?
Tekken.
Tekken? Oh, we played so
I
much
hated
Tekken
that.
on set.
They were she and
Vin Diesel.
Vin
Vin Diesel. They were so drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were so drunk on that stage. It was a glorious train wreck.
I love the tweet. It was like, I have no idea what the hell Tekken is, but I'm really glad she likes it.
But that was pretty much it for the Ubisoft Forward event. They gave some information at Just Dance 2021, I think it is, on the pre-show, but you know.
Is it going to be on the Wii? That's all I care about.
Let's find out.
Oh my gosh.
Because remember all the
Honestly,
Just
I
Dance
would
games
not
are
be
still on the Wii?
surprised. Honestly, I can't think of any other system where Just Dance makes sense.
What about the Switch? It's gonna be great on the Switch.
No, I know, but
I mean, yeah, it's the Switch too.
remember even the recent Just Dances are still on the Wii, like not the Wii U?
That's interesting.
Yeah, like the recent years of Just Dance were still launching on the regular Wii.
Yep.
Which I don't. Maybe there's just one Ubisoft executive that still refuses to buy new consoles or something and just wants a Wii. I don't know why. But yeah, I think Watch Dogs Legion, from what I saw of the second one, which that was like San Francisco or something, right? I forget. What was the second Watch Dogs?
Yeah, it was in San Francisco.
It seemed like a
big. It was somewhere. Where's the Golden Gate Bridge? I can't remember.
San Francisco.
LA.
San Francisco.
San Francisco. Then yeah, I think it was in San Francisco.
It seemed like a big step up, or from like the things I read and reviews and stuff I watched from the first one. So I think probably out of any of these games, which I'm not really too interested in from Ubisoft, the one that I would play would be Legion.
The second one was a very big step up for pretty much everybody else who didn't like the first one, because I still liked the first one. It was fine. It was fun. The only thing I didn't like about the first one was the driving. I feel like any game that's kind of like Grand Theft Auto, where it's like the third person kind of like gameplay, driving in those games are the worst ever. I don't know why. They're always based off the same mechanics and they're always bad. But
The two opinions that I've heard about Watch Dogs 2 is, I got really turned off by Watch Dogs 1, so I never played it. And the lesser known, it was really good. So I'm assuming it's pretty good and just no one played it.
I played it. It was real good. I think one of my favorite parts was that you got to beat people. So like your melee weapon in that game is an 8-ball attached to some bungee cord. And you beat people.
8-ball attached to a bungee cord.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it was a good
Nice.
game. It had a lot of nods to like like pop culture things. Man, what's that? What's that show called that had David Hasselhoff in it in the talking car?
Knight
Oh,
Rider or something, right?
Knight Rider. Yeah, they had a nod to that where you had to steal the car off the set of a movie that was like a Knight Rider car, and you start driving it, and like you're working with someone else, and as you're driving the car away, the car starts talking to you, and you're like, oh my god, I didn't think this was actually real. And then the car goes, it's not, it's me, the guy that's helping you. And it's like very funny. And you actually also take out an entire religious group that's based off Scientology in the game. It's a very fun game. It's very fun.
I got that for free with the Ubisoft Forward event, so I'll definitely be hopping into that sometime soon.
Ooh, did you get it? I heard there was like an interesting thing about how people...
It was garbage. The whole system had a panic attack. So what you were supposed to do was log in with your Ubisoft account on the website where you were streaming the actual show.
Mm-hmm.
But due to high demand, obviously the whole system just like crapped out. So nobody could log in and actually claim the reward. So what you had to do was after the event, like I think like later in the day, like they said like, oh, if you just log in with your Ubisoft account on this website, we'll just give you the game. So a bunch of people just ended up getting that game for free.
Can I still do it?
Possibly. Probably not.
All right.
It was worth a shot.
Yeah. What's the website? Give me the website. I'll try it right now.
Find out. Let me see if I can find it.
Okay. Well, while you guys are figuring that out, I just want to say that I am having a great time, having fun with my friends here on the Cup of Joe's podcast. And I think the good times are about to come to an end because
they're not.
We have to talk about our third and final topic.
Just because you two have a hate for this game does not mean we're going to have a bad time.
Oh, we're going to have a great time.
We're gonna have a time where you and Derek complain about the game, and me be like, "But this," and you'd be like, "That doesn't matter."
That sounds pretty accurate. Sounds pretty accurate, honestly. So let's talk. I know it's been a little bit, and everyone's kind of forgotten about one of the most anticipated games of this generation, which is The Last of Us Part 2. So we're gonna have a fun, energetic discussion about things that we liked, things that we didn't, and just the overall game. And you can trust that all three of us played it, so it's different than all the other reviews on Metacritic giving it zeros and whatever from people who didn't actually play the game.
I just want to say, I apologize for not finishing this game while the hashtags were still active on Twitter about it.
Yeah, I
tried my best. It was a struggle. But better late than never. I guess.
Absolutely. That's fine. I was fortunate enough to try to just bang out this game as quickly as possible because I was so excited for it that I didn't want anything to get spoiled for me. And for the most part, I think 98% of it went unspoiled, luckily. So, but I think we've given people enough time at this point that if they wanted to play the game, they would have at least started it by now, and they would want to leave the podcast if they don't want to be spoiled. And then if they aren't going to play the game, then they don't care about the spoilers. So this is a spoiler warning for anyone who hasn't finished it yet. Go finish it, and come back here later and hear our discussions on it. But I'll just open up the airwaves right away. Joe can attest through our history of our podcast and our conversations talking about the development of The Last of Us Part 2. I have been skeptical the entire time as the existence or the need for this game to exist. We've talked about it was either a creative director or executive producer that left in the middle of production. We talked about that on an episode once.
We did.
I've basically had my guard up the entire time for this game that I was excited for. And for me, unfortunately, I think my intuition was correct in how I initially felt, where I personally do not think this game needed to exist. I think not only is the game not as effective as they think or intended for, I think it actually diminishes some of the sparkle on the original game for me, and we can talk about that if you want. But overall, I think it was fine-ish. I still think there are gameplay issues that are archaic, that were not fixed or improved upon in the original. And the story is a mess of a whole situation that I'm sure we're going to get into. But overall, I was dissatisfied with The Last of Us 2.
That's it? You're going to do that whole spiel and just say that?
I'm leaving it open. I'm letting us have a discussion. I don't want to hog the airwaves. You know what I mean?
Well, you were already doing it, so just continue and finish your statement.
No, I want some banter. People don't want to listen to one person talk for 10 minutes.
So, I don't want to be as down on The Last of Us 2 as I am, right? So what I would say about The Last of Us 2 is that this is the best 7.5, 10 out of game I've ever played.
That's such a great description. I never thought of that.
Pretty good.
Yeah, because I've been thinking about it all day. Like, as far as 7.5 games go, this is the pinnacle. You know? And that's just because... It truly is because Naughty Dog is the best at their craft. I don't think anybody else could have pulled off this game as well as this, despite its, Naughty Dog has managed to create a game with a myriad of plot flaws and not necessarily gameplay issues, but they've made a game that's as painful to go through as this one is. Like, just a really strong experience overall. And nobody else would have done that except for Naughty Dog. Like, we're going to get into the details of, like, its plot holes. I've got my own opinions on, like, the gameplay, like how I think the gameplay actively fights against you.
Mm-hmm.
When you're just trying to go through a fight. And you're just trying to get to, like, the next plot development. And the game is actively just trying to, like, make it as difficult as it possibly can, even when you're playing a moderate. But I think because it's Naughty Dog, like, it's not as awful as it could have been.
Who else would have made the game, though?
Nobody else. Nobody else. Not a soul would have done this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Joe.
Like,
I enjoyed playing the game.
There we go.
Great.
See, look, we have a discussion going on.
I'm
Joe,
so glad somebody else feels this way.
I need you to stop it, Joseph.
I was just saying,
I
don't want to bore you guys with me ranting for 10 minutes. That's not fun for you guys to listen to. It's not fun for the audience.
No. I want somebody to stand on the other side of me and explain to me why this game is great. That came out way shittier than I anticipated.
I love it.
Oops, I cursed.
It's okay. It's okay.
All right.
That came out...
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Joe. No, please go ahead.
I don't know. Like, the minute that Joe Brown told me, like, as he was playing the game, because, like, he texted me, he was like, oh my God. Well, first, I already knew Joe Brown's whole opinion about this game.
Classic me.
Before he even played it. Joe Brown, just for everybody to know, because we've talked about this so many times, Joe Brown thinks that this game should not have existed at all. They should have left Last of Us the way that it ended, and that's it.
So does your friend Frank Alvarez, by the way. He also holds the same opinion.
Okay. Why are you bringing other people up while I'm talking, Joe? It's my turn to talk.
You're right.
You had your moment. Now stop talking. Once again, Joe Brown thinks that the first one should have just ended. And if he had let me finish, I agree with him. They should have let that game lie where it was.
Yep.
That game allowed you to have a thought about what you thought of Joel, what you thought of Ellie, and what you thought the world was going to be when that ended. That's it. And that's how most, like, stories and, like, major books and, like, movies end when they give you, like, that ability. They want to give the
They want
reader...
to leave you with something to think about.
They want to leave you to something to think about, and that's what they did. But then they did this, which was fine. Everybody wanted it to happen. Everybody asked for it to happen, except for Joe Brown.
Pretty much.
I didn't ask. I also didn't ask for it to happen, I'll be honest.
All right, and Eric, and apparently we're going to bring Frankie into this.
Listen, I only said it because I was listening to his podcast and he was having the same opinions that I had, which was comforting because I felt like I was on an island where like nobody else was thinking the same way I was. So I'm just saying that I'm not crazy for thinking this way.
Joe Brown, there's another thing that's called when you have your own thoughts. It's just you. You're allowed to have your own thoughts. But anyway, yes, the game should not necessarily existed, but they made it.
They did.
We all bought it.
We did.
And we played it, and you guys didn't like it, and I enjoyed it because I'm a sucker for a story. I enjoy, if you're going to tell me what happened in this world, I'm going to listen to you. And I thought they did a pretty good job of explaining what was going to happen after the fact of what had happened. And the only way that story was going to play out the way that it was going to play out was Joel had to die. No matter what anybody said, that man had to go down for what he did. Like, I don't care who you are. If you think it was a bad move, great. But you know that had to happen. If that didn't happen, that game would have been filled with Ellie going on runs and you collecting corn for the entire time. That's the whole game if that didn't happen.
Did he have to die 2 hours in?
Yeah. What else are you gonna do for the first 10 hours? Collect corn? Like I said, you're not gonna do much in that game if she doesn't have a driving force. Unless you're gonna change The Last of Us that went from this drama-filled, post-apocalyptic zombie game that you have to fight your way through to Ellie trying to fall in love and figure out her life for the first 10 minutes, and then we're gonna get into it. I don't know what you expected to happen. What did you think? I want to know, personally, besides the fact that you didn't think this game should have existed at all, what did you think was going to happen? What was going to be the driving force for the first part of this game to cause something to happen?
Okay, hold on. Two different questions. To answer the first question, what did I think was going to happen? I thought Joel was going to die. So I'm not one of these people online who are like Joel apologists saying he, whatever, he should have lived, blah, blah, blah. That's not the opinion that I have. But let me flip it back with your question of what you thought or what I thought was going to happen in the first part of the game. So a question for both of you. Over the last 5 years of production and let's say 4 years of marketing since we first saw it at however many E3s or Xbox Live, Sony State of Play presentations, however many years ago, what was one story element that they told us was going to happen in any of the press releases or trailers or anything leading up to release?
Ellie was going to dance with that girl.
But what was the point of the game? What was one thing?
The single line that we heard over and over. You think I was going to let you do this alone?
Oh, yeah. You mean that thing that doesn't happen because they literally lied and altered trailers and made everybody think that Joel was alive for a large portion of the game?
Marvel does it too.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean it's okay. It's still wrong to do that.
Is it?
I'm not so down.
They took scenes they took models of older Joel and put him into scenes that he's not in and put him over other characters and voice dialogue that he does not have in the game to market to you that he was there during those scenes. And then that's not true. That's not false marketing.
Once again, they do that for movies too. Is that not false marketing when they do it?
Marvel does it, not regular movies. Marvel does it, and people also have problems that Marvel does it.
But okay, so if they did do that, if they put out the trailers at the way that it's supposed to happen, and they give away their big twist that they don't want you to know about until you play the game, does that make it better?
So what purpose was it to buy this game except for it being a sequel? Even when you play Mario, Bowser captures Princess Peach. So what were you actually told? What were you actually told about what was going to happen in this game that was marketed to the players besides the fact that it was a Last of Us sequel?
Oh, absolutely nothing. But they knew that's all you needed.
Yeah, dude.
Here we are, post-launch, all three of us having bought that game, so clearly they were right.
It doesn't matter. Like, the whole thing is that they want you. Like, The Last of Us has nothing else going for it besides the fact that it is a single player story-driven game. And that's what they want you to buy the game for, is you want to know what's going on in their world that you were so attached to. And the fact that they did that to hide the fact that Joel dies at the beginning of the game is due to the fact that that is their biggest twist and drive in this game. And they didn't want to give that away, because me and you, when we saw that trailer, the original trailer for that game, what was the first thing that both of us said?
Joel's a ghost.
Yeah, that's exactly what we said. We said Joel is dead in this game.
Yep.
He's
That
not
was
dead.
that was the most open secret about this game through its entire marketing, is that we all knew that Joel was a goner.
And again,
And
I'm not saying he shouldn't have died. That's not what I'm
I
saying.
know you're not.
No,
You're
well,
saying-
because like Joe said, I'm assuming your audience knows how to tell the difference between the two of you. When
we
I
don't
say
know yet. It's 3 people right now.
It's you.
Yeah.
Our
Like
audience is
Joe
you.
said, this game literally doesn't have a story to tell unless Joel dies. And we all knew that going into it. Like, it wasn't lost on anybody in our own circle. It wasn't lost on anybody on the internet. We all knew, whether we were conscious of it or not, what the price was going into this. And that was that Joel was going to die.
And who cares that it was 2 hours into the game?
Because of the execution of it. This is a conversation I've had with many people where
But you're getting
they're not
so
upset.
hung
Hold on.
on that.
People aren't upset that Joel died. It was inevitable, and it was likely, and it even makes sense from a story perspective, because what he did in the first game was, when you take yourself out of his POV, it seemed like a pretty evil or bad guy thing to do, so people go after the bad guy. Nobody is contesting that he shouldn't have died. It was the execution of how it was done so early into the game, and how Abby literally fell into finding him, and him revealing his own name, and Tommy revealing his name. These uncharacteristic decisions and how the events played out are what people have issues with, not the actual thing of him dying.
That's where my issue is with this game, is that it's one of those situations where the story is predicated on every character, and I've said this before, every character making the wrong decision at every turn. And I don't think that doesn't make for an interesting story, at least for me. Like, I would prefer a character make the right decision and then some other outlying force, like, screws them over anyway. But I think with this game specifically, like, we know, cause my biggest for the opening, right? And I texted Joe about this, is like, it's established from the first game that Joel and Tommy have done awful things in their past. Like the scene when they drive past that one guy who's calling out for help, and Joel's like, "No, that's bait." And Ellie's like, "Oh, well, how do you know?" It's like, "I've done it before." So for Joel and Tommy to tell Abby straight up who they are at the start of the game, where they live, first is like the first mistake that I truly believe in my heart of hearts Tommy and Joel absolutely would not have made. And then to follow Abby to her group, which she tells them is a group, is another mistake that they absolutely would not have made, and is a mistake that they only made so this plot could happen.
Because the story needed them to do it.
Yeah,
right.
I will agree that all of that was, like, the minute that they were like, "Yeah, you got to come meet my group," I'm like, "Joe, what the hell are you doing?"
Exactly. So, like, my issue with, like, how the plot plays out, it's not, my issue with the game isn't necessarily like how Joel dies or how they marketed whether or not Joel was in the game. It's an issue of the story beats not matching up to the characters.
Yeah. I will agree with you on that. I will agree with you on those points. They very much acted completely different than how they were supposed to act. Especially when after Joel dies and then all this other stuff, Tommy automatically changes back to the way that he should have been in the beginning, which is like him going out and doing what he needs to do to get what he needs to get, which should have happened at the beginning, where
Right.
they probably should have just left Abby there or brought her into the encampment and then tried to figure out what was going on.
Like, the
But-
minute she said that she had a group, they should have just been on their guard about her.
Yeah, they should have been like, all right, here you go. Bye. We're out of here.
Like, dude says, oh, we saved your life. Well, bye.
Yeah.
Because they're safe in Jackson. They know they're safe in Jackson.
Yeah. But other than that, like, yes, the point that Joe Brown has, like, the whole like character not doing what they're supposed to do and acting stupid. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree that most of the plots were forced to happen in the fact that you watched one character kind of develop into a better person while we watched one character devolve into a
Mhm.
complete deranged animal, which was kind of upsetting to see at the same time. Because the character you want to be good becomes bad.
A dumpster fire.
Yeah, she becomes a total dumpster fire. While the character you hate turns into somewhat of a better person, in my opinion.
No, I
Um,
agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Like, the game, I think me and Joe Brown both said this too. The game did its job by making me hate Abby in the beginning and then making me somewhat sympathize with her at the end.
I sympathize with her 100% at the end, I'm not gonna lie.
Like,
I am totally Team Abby over here.
Yeah, I'm still Team Ellie.
like I'm a fan. Ellie's still my girl, but I felt for Abby. Like, at the end of the game, part of me was hoping that Ellie brought Abby back to Jackson, or like her and Abby like kind of like came to an agreement about something.
Like
will-
the final level where you're like at the, I think they called them Rattlers, that base.
Yeah.
Completely unnecessary, but if
Yeah,
you,
me and Joe were both saying that last week.
I would have loved it if it was Ellie and Abby just taking on that entire base.
That would have been
That I would have loved to play through.
like, you catch and you could do, what is it? You can do the thing where it keeps hopping, like in was it one of the Arkham games? You can hop between the Robin and Batman in one part of the game, you keep, like, jumping through back and forth between them.
Hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
I didn't play the Batman games, but I understand what you're saying.
Abby gets pinned down, so you're Ellie now, so you're taking down the people that.
Oh, sort of like the final battle in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Sure.
Or like
The
how
one-
Final
or
Fantasy
I guess,
VII, like how you change the characters, like, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
in the remake at least.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would have been cool. Or cut out that entire ending altogether.
Just cut it out, bro.
Cut it out.
Just take that out.
Figure
We
out
need it.
something to do in the
I
theater.
was
Part of-
totally fine with that story ending, with Ellie getting her ass beat. Sorry, cursed again.
It's
But
okay. It's okay.
Okay.
And then going home to have a happy life with Dina. I totally would have been fine with how that story ended. If that level where you walked through the house doing menial chores was the actual epilogue of the story, I would have been totally cool with that.
Yeah, me too. I would have
Would
been
have
cool.
bumped it up to one of like the best 8.5s I've ever played.
Like, I think if they had played the game out a little differently, it also would have been a little better.
Yeah, it's all about
Agreed.
the pacing for me. It's the way, like, Joe, you said earlier that, like, they had to conceal Joel's death because it was the biggest twist in the game. I disagree. I think the biggest twist to the game is that you actually play as Abby for half of it, which was not any, obviously none of us even knew who Abby was, so we weren't going to know that we were playing as her. I think that could have been much better or paced out differently to make it more enjoyable instead of playing 12, for me at least, it was like 12 hours as Ellie, and then it was like 10 hours straight of a slog as Abby. I was like, man, I just want to get back to Ellie's story. Like, I'm seeing this game through Ellie's like perspective. Ellie's my girl. I don't like Abby. She killed Joel, whatever. Having to play 10 hours straight as Abby was just agonizing.
Is it bad that, like, I definitely thought that too? I was like, all right, this is Abby now. Can we go back? Like, I don't want to do this anymore.
So I'm of a little more of a nuanced opinion on this, because I didn't dislike Abby's section. My only stressor going into Abby's section was that I was already burnt out after playing through Ellie's portion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you do these 4 days in Seattle with Ellie. And at this point, at the end of the 4th day, when you get to a climactic scene, I'm already like, oh, thank God, let's just get this game over with. Because the game is rough. There's a lot to chew. Yeah, there's a lot to chew on with the game. Plot-wise, I'm go through these whole 4 days in Seattle questioning every decision that Ellie is making. And when I, as the player, am sitting here questioning every decision that Ellie's making, it's pulling me out of the story, so I'm not as deeply invested as I should be to make me want to play this game more. So when I get to the end of the 4th day with Ellie, and all of a sudden the game is just like, LOL, want to do it again? I'm just like, no, I don't. I really don't. So
I hear you like flashbacks. Do you want a flashback in your flashback?
Oh my God. So you essentially play through the whole 4 days in Seattle with Abby, and when I texted Joe Brown, like, I took like a 2-week break literally at that dividing line, because like I can't do this right now.
I definitely think this is funny because Joe Brown got a little annoyed at me for not beating the game quick enough, because I think he thought you were going to beat it as quick as he was.
Yeah.
And then I told him I beat it, and I was like, all right, let's get your friend and let's do this podcast. And he's like, oh, he hasn't beaten it yet. I was like, what?
Yeah, I finished this game partially because Joe Brown was texting me like almost every day and pressuring me to finish the game. I was like, all right, I'm on it. Just give me a deadline. I'll get it done.
It was just very funny because he was like, yeah, come on, you got to do this. Like, I'm going to beat it.
Because at the time, in my defense, Eric was on pace to finish it, considerably fast compared to how long it took. So when I was pressuring Joe, in my head, it was because Eric was already making some strong progress in it, and then he had the hiatus, which I do not blame you for at all, of like having to get away from the game for 2 weeks, because I wish I had the same luxury. I wanted to get through it as fast as possible to avoid spoilers.
Yeah.
I'm surprised by how easy it was for me to avoid spoilers, even though I'm on Twitter all the time too, with 0 followers. Help me out, guys.
Okay, so we're back. Had a quick break, but thank you for all sticking with us here. Let's continue this Last of Us conversation here, guys, with the ending. Now, my opinion is I actually want to know when you were playing as Abby and when you knew you were going to get back to that same point at the movie theater, when you got to, or when you were anticipating getting there, what did you think was going to happen at the movie theater, and did you think that was going to be the end of the game? Because for me, I thought when Abby got to the movie theater, it was going to be a showdown between her and Ellie, and it like maybe had an option where like you chose which, either Ellie or Abby, which person you sided with in the fight, and I thought the game was going to end there. So what did you guys think?
Eric, would you like to go first? I feel like it's good to have a Joe sandwich. It's Joe's opinion and then mine.
All for a Joe sandwich.
What I will say is that this is a game that really made me wish I could pick a side.
It did?
It didn't. I wish it let me pick a side.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I also wish. I agree.
I felt it was really cathartic. Because let me preface this by saying that I loved how the scene at the theater played out. Aside from Jesse unceremoniously getting taken out in the way he did, but
did not like that.
That's a whole other discussion. But I really enjoyed the fight between Abby and Ellie in the movie theater.
I will disagree with you.
Because the entire time I just thought, I want to be playing this fight as Ellie. I am on Ellie's side. I am not on Abby's side.
I am so 100% against this. I was 100% on Abby's side. I was like, all right, you know what? This chick is just rolling through, killing all of my friends. I'm tired of this. Let's just take her out. And then I enjoyed it even more that Abby just beat her ass. And then Dina tried to come in, and then Abby just beat her ass. And then at the end of it, Abby was like, you know what?
I'm done.
Don't let me see you again. And I was just like, you know what, Abby, you're 100% right. I hope these two don't show up in your life again. But this is The Last of Us 2, and nothing is ever done when it's supposed to be. So then we have a whole third section of the game. But to the original point, I thought that theater scene played out exactly like it should have.
It did, but I did not. I would have much rather been. I did not want to be in control of getting my own, like beating
exactly.
my own. I did not want to be in control of that. The entire time, I did it on both scenarios. I did not want to beat up Ellie, and I did not want to kill Abby. Those were the two things I did not want to do.
This game was totally rough for you then.
Yeah, I know. It made me beat up Ellie, and then it made me stab and almost kill Abby, and I was just like, this is rough.
But it goes back, that final fight on the beach, which I know we're jumping around a lot here. Sorry,
Excuse me, it wasn't on the beach. It was in the ocean.
In the ocean. Okay, whatever.
They were ankle deep in the water.
That fight, the first time I went through that fight, I let Abby kill me.
Oh my god.
Really?
This is because I wanted that catharsis moment. I was like, you know what? Abby deserves this. She's been through a lot. It really wasn't even a fair fight on Abby's side. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to let Abby have the win here before I maybe have to take her out. Because I didn't want to. I honestly didn't want to.
You're such a good person, Eric.
The thing that I did was I did the fight. I dodged her, so like I just kept dodging. I was like, I'm not gonna do this, and then I was like, and then I punched her down to the ground. I was like, maybe if I leave her there, it'll like give me something different than having to kill her. And then she got up and punched me. I was like, all right, so that's not gonna work. Mm-hmm. So then I had to go through it, and then I was so relieved when they didn't do it. I was like, oh, thank God.
I was so happy.
But at the same time, I was like, why are we here?
Because I think they didn't want to end the game on Ellie getting her ass beat. I really think that was the only thing. Like, Ellie is our star child. We can't have her lose.
But she does in the end. She's the one who loses. She loses her family. She loses her love. She loses her connection to Joel because she can't play guitar. And Abby's the one who gets off.
She didn't lose the fight, though. And
this is where
important in video games.
That is important, but this is also where me and Joe, I think, have different takes on what happens at the end of The Last of Us 2.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, we already kind of talked about this, and you proved me wrong or tried to prove me wrong with it.
I did no such thing.
Okay, because
okay.
I think in the end of the game when Ellie goes back to that house, I think she's already stopped at Jackson. And she's just going there to kind of get the last bit of closure that she has left with Joel. Because now, like, all of her stuff that her and Joel, like, gives her the connection to Joel, which is, like, the music and all the things from, like, the prior part of what she was doing is left there. Because when she arrives back at that house, she's wearing different shoes and different clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the only way that could happen is if she had made a stop.
She had returned to Jackson first.
Yeah, she had returned to Jackson, and then she came here, knowing good and well that she wasn't there anymore. So I think that's what happened. And then that ending of her not being able to play the guitar is like her closure of like her learning and going through is like what I did wasn't good. I shouldn't have done what I did, and I'm going to have to go forward knowing I did this and it was bad for the most part. Where Joe thinks,
but let her go through with it then, because what she did was good. She did not kill Abby, and she got punished for it. So if she's going to lose her fingers and lose her humanity, then let her actually go through with it and kill Abby instead of, half-assing both scenarios.
You're right.
I don't know. Because how I read the end of that game, right, is Abby essentially gave up on her quest for revenge, right?
And then Tommy.
I'm sorry, not Abby. Ellie gave up on her quest for revenge.
Yeah.
And ended up in this really happy life with Dina and her baby. And on this farm, herding sheep. It was literally the gold star happy ending she could have asked for in her life. But it wasn't good enough for her. So she pursued the revenge plot again. And because she pursued that revenge to its quote-unquote conclusion, she literally lost everything that she ever had. More than just Dina and her fingers. Losing her fingers and her ability to play that guitar was essentially losing her final connection to Joel.
Which is
essentially why she leaves Jackson at the end of the game, because she doesn't have any more ties to that community.
But does she leave Jackson?
That's what it looks like. She walks off into the forest behind the house.
But that house isn't in Jackson.
I mean, it's close enough to Jackson. It's like Jackson
Tommy
adjacent.
got there, so it's got to be somewhat close to Jackson.
No, I know it's got to be somewhat close, but like her walking into the woods, I thought was her walking back to Jackson.
I don't think so, because she didn't take the path. She didn't take the same path going in that she took going out. This is us really getting into the weeds of things, because she walks into the front of the house and then she leaves out of the back. So I took it as her just leaving Jackson entirely.
I took it as her going to Jackson. I took it as her coming back from California to the house, and now she's going to try to reconcile things with Dina, and I assume Dina's not going to listen to her. That was my interpretation of it.
Right, but to the point that
she had not been at Jackson yet.
She has nothing left in Jackson after this. Like, how do you? Because she can't. She's not going to get Dina back.
Right.
Dina
shouldn't
just
take
going to
her
be
back.
Agreed. There's just going to be painful memories of Joel throughout her entire remainder of time living in Jackson unless she leaves. She can't face Tommy because she didn't kill Abby unless she lies to him, and then she's going to have to deal with that for the rest of life. It would be really hard for Ellie to stay in Jackson after the final section of that game.
All right. I have a question now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Has nothing to do with what you just said. Do you think that if Tommy had died in that theater scene, that whole ending to the game wouldn't have happened? Because I feel like Tommy pushes her to do it.
Oh, he does.
She would not have done that if Tommy never showed up. Now, if Jesse was still alive, and they were kind of like this weird... What?
Rest in peace, Jesse.
R.I.P. But they were this weird throuple living together, because that's what I imagined would happen. That the three of them would live together and raise this baby together. And I feel like Ellie would probably have just been okay, and the game would have ended with that. Like her.
I think if Jesse had lived and Tommy had died, we would have called it. Yeah. I think if Jesse died and Tommy had died,
it's the ending.
We would have. They would have had that fight. Like right then and there, realistically. I think it would have been over at that same point, except with one of them dying.
Homie, I'm pretty sure Ellie thought that Tommy was dead, because I thought Tommy was dead.
Oh, everybody thought Tommy was dead, because Abby has godlike range and kills everybody, but then she shoots Tommy a foot away and only grazes his ear.
But man, she wasn't looking. She did the behind the
Okay,
just like
but let me ask the question: why did Tommy live? Because they needed Tommy to live. Not for actual strong storytelling or a narrative reason. They needed him to live so that they had the plot device of him telling Ellie somehow he knows that Abby is in California, in Santa Barbara. So when everyone else dies because they can die, Tommy needed to live when we thought he died because he needed him alive to tell Ellie to go to California.
Okay. Can I just point out how crap it is that Tommy just happened to have people out in the Santa Barbara area that just knew that Abby was out there?
Yeah, it's completely contrived. It's nonsense.
That was like...
I thought that like a traitor came through who from California. He came through Jackson, and that's how we found out. I didn't
Montana?
He said I had feelers out in the area asking around about Abby.
Oh my God.
I heard that, and I was like,
I love the accent, Eric.
I'm just like, I have to swallow a lot to buy the plot of this game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the ending.
This is just too much.
Yeah. So.
They also never explained those California slave people. Not once. Not one sentence of explaining what they were, who they were, what they did, and why they held human slaves.
Because they're just cannon fodder. It's fine.
Because they just needed enemies in the area.
Yeah.
You know, they had to design some levels, and for that to happen, you need some enemies, and we'll just toss these people in there.
Yeah, I will say though, the level design. I have a friend who went to school in the area where the ending of that game took place. He said that they did a fantastic job modeling that area in the game off of the actual area that it is in real life. He was like the train station almost identical. It's like there was a few things I'm sure they had to change legally, but that train station was identical to what it is in real life, he said.
Yeah, Naughty Dog they're world-class builder, level designer. They're phenomenal. That was the most like how like we went through that whole building of like 19 floors of zombies or whatever. Like that world design is unreal how talented that they are at making those.
Can we talk about how stressful that hospital level was?
Yes.
I don't want to talk about it.
But here, instead of talking about that, we'll talk about this instead. So let's say we change the ending to the game. Us three are changing the ending to the game. And this is my proposal to you.
Okay.
To all. We do everything we do everything up to the theater scene. We do the theater area where Abby fights Ellie. And then we cut to the Ellie doing her thing at the farm. But the thing we end with is her actually feeding the sheep and everything going okay, shutting the door to the barn, and then it cuts Ellie's gameplay. And then we go to Abby in Santa Barbara, and you do the whole thing of her going through the houses looking for stuff. And then she finds the thing she's looking for. And then then she hits the radio and she talks to the guy over the radio. And then we cut. And then credits roll. Would that be a better ending? Because I feel like, to me, that would have been a cool ending to close everything off and leave things open for questions like it kind of did at the end of Last of Us 1. Where Abby has found fireflies, maybe, and is going to look for them, and Ellie is living her life with Dina and this small child on this farm.
I'll certainly be happy with that ending.
You would be happy with that, Joe?
I don't think there's any rescuing this ending, honestly. So I don't think it'd be better. I don't think it would change. The
ending that I proposed does not change
how bad the ending is? No, I don't.
How bad the ending is.
To me.
What we're talking about here is trying to rescue the ending of a plot that's already pretty...
I think it's an irredeemable ending. Like, I just... Like all right, so I guess the last thing I can say on The Last of Us Part 2, and I talked about this with Joe, once he beat the game, we had a phone call about it. I think the endings of the two games are fundamentally different from how the player is supposed to experience it compared to what the characters are going through. So if just let me go on a little thing here and try to explain it as well as I can. If you have questions, let me know. But the end of Last of Us 1, when Joel makes that decision, obviously none of these decisions are what we make. The game makes it for us, which is already bold because a lot of people didn't want to kill 1 million people in a hospital or whatever. So
Right.
Joel makes the decision. He kills all those people. He saves Ellie's life, or his life. So one, that's already controversial because that's not what people wanted to do. Two, he then lies to Ellie that there were other girls just like her and that she wasn't special and there is no cure. So that's another controversial thing that people didn't want to do. And then three, you don't get to see the resolution in just The Last of Us 1. You do not get to see the resolution to that outcome of him lying to her. So you have three different scenarios where the player in their head, is that what I would have done? Is that what I would have done? I don't know what's going to happen here. So at the end of Last of Us 1, it is the player is unsatisfied with the ending. So we're on the same page, right? The player does not get a satisfying, happy-go-lucky, Disney perfect ending, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Last of Us Part 2's ending changes the aspect or the perspective of being dissatisfied from the player doesn't get a happy ending to Ellie doesn't get a happy ending, which fundamentally changes the perspective of it because Abby gets off scot-free. Abby stays around with Lev, and Lev is her friend, and they go live their life. Abby ends up, if you see the thing after the credits where they change the scene with the boat, Abby ends up finding the Firefly base, so you can assume she's been able to relocate some of her comrades or whatever in the Fireflies. So even though she went through hell, just like Ellie did, she's living peachy at the end. She's alive. She doesn't have vengeance in her heart anymore. She's living a good life with her friend now. So she has a positive ending. Ellie has everything taken from her. She loses her wife. She loses her fingers, which were her connection to Joel by playing the game. And she goes back to an empty home and she doesn't know where she's going to end. So it's now Ellie has a bad ending instead of me feeling bad about the ending. I hope I'm kind of somewhat making sense of how I'm presenting it.
Yeah, because you don't feel
right. I don't feel bad. Nothing happened to me. Ellie had a bad ending.
Mm-hmm.
I'll agree with that. Yeah,
which is why it's frustrating to me because that's why I say no half-assing. I've either have her kill Abby and live with the regret of losing the fingers and seeing that the terrible things she did and went through were not just and not the right thing to do because hatred and vengeance is bad and it hurts everybody you love, or don't have that ending and end it earlier with her, happy on the ranch or whatever. Give it a more satisfying ending. Because in this way, it's not 50-50. It's not, are you Team Abby, Team Ellie? It is 100-0. Abby is living it up and Ellie's life is over.
Not over. She's walking into the forest.
Wait, I'm sorry. I just had a very weird idea as Joe Brown was talking. Joe, here's my new proposed ending.
Okay.
So you do everything. You play the game as it's made,
Uh-huh.
and everything happens the way it happens. And as Ellie walks into the woods, it goes white, and then all of a sudden you pull back, and we're back in the hospital in the first one, and they're actually taking everything out of Ellie's brain.
Oh,
No.
Sequence of her as she dies.
No, I love the original. I think I love the original ending of The Last of Us. I would not want them to go retroactively change I think that's the perfect ending.
How crazy would it be? All right.
I just think of just the sleepless nights, not literally, but the ideas I had after beating the first Last of Us of what is going to happen in that world. It's same as Inception, where you don't know if it's reality or if it's a dream.
Pop wobble?
Yeah, I know. We can. Yes, I think it was reality. But at least the intent was for people to think on their own, was it real or a dream?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is The Last of Us 1, the amount of time I spent after the game thinking about what's happening in that world, what's happening to those characters, what the consequences of their actions are going to be, compared to my post Last of Us 2 thoughts, it's I could not care less what happens in that world at this point.
Yeah, I didn't really think about anything else afterwards. The only thing I think I might have thought about more is what happens to Abby after she found the
See,
Firefly.
that's what I'm saying. I'll take some
That's
DLC
you.
about Abby and Lev. Sign me up.
Yeah, but that's about it. Okay, let's.
Cause like, go ahead.
No, I'm. Go ahead. Say what you're gonna say.
Well, no, because like I said, I ended this game on Abby's side, mainly because nobody ever questioned Ellie's decision to go on this whole revenge quest. Like, we didn't really talk about it, but I always felt it was kind of weird that Dina was just gung-ho about the whole quest after, like, literally being with Ellie for, like, what, 2 weeks?
No, they've been there for years at that point. Joel...
They've been there for years, but they'd only been together for, like, a couple...
been there. I get what you're saying.
They've only been together for, like, a couple of weeks, I think, at that.
Yeah, but
stage in
Joel
time.
still had a significant impact on her as well as Jesse. You know what I mean?
Right, but, you know... As soon as, like, the pregnancy thing kicked in, as soon as, like, Jesse showed up for the first time, as soon as they started, like, taking out a few of, like, Abby's friends along the way, over the course of this entire plot, nobody stopped to ask Ellie, like, hey, is this enough? Or, like, what are we doing this for?
I think that everybody was on board with it because everybody
so.
felt pain that Ellie was feeling.
I think Jesse actually says that. He says, like, I'm not just here for you, like, I'm also here for Joel. Like, how he still had an impact on them.
And plus, I think they were also there to find Tommy.
Right. Well, yes, that too. And then they find Tommy, and everyone is just like, well, yeah, let's go home now. And then Abby shows up. But I thought it was just like...
Go ahead.
I don't know. I thought it was really weird that nobody thought to ask Ellie, like... why.
This is the weird plot point. Okay, I'm changing the topic a little bit.
Do it.
Because I'm tired of talking about this ending.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How much of a badass did you feel playing as Abby, though, with those arms? Like, come on. I, like, walked into certain areas as, like, I'm just going to punch everybody.
I felt like Abby was a lot more fun to play with.
Dude, she would silently kill people by choking them with her biceps.
Mm-hmm. Abby had those arms.
She had them.
She was thick in a different sense.
Yeah, real.
Joe's
Go
like,
ahead.
What's his name in Napoleon Dynamite, the karate teacher with the wife that's like on steroids?
Oh,
yeah. Look how hot my wife is. He has like the frying pans over her chest.
he's wearing the American flag pants.
Yeah. That's like you fawning over Abby's muscles.
We crack jokes, but honestly, I do want to applaud Naughty Dog on making a main character out of basically two characters that have virtually no sex appeal as females.
Yeah, it was very good.
That is a huge departure from what the video game industry does at large.
Yeah, it was very cool to see it.
Like,
but she still had a sex scene, though.
Let me take that back, because it's not like Abby doesn't have any sex appeal. She gets a whole sex scene in it.
That's what I'm saying.
But her body type is completely different from what the standard is for women in media in general.
Yeah.
Like, she has a brolic body. Her chest is not, like, pronounced in that kind of way. It was very good to see, like, a completely different body type leading a story.
Yeah.
So I will applaud Naughty Dog on that respect. The diversity in the game is there, although I have my own, like, feelings on it, but we're not going to get into it here. But overall, that aspect of the game is to be applauded.
Yeah. There was something else I wanted to say. I can't remember now.
Well, if we're applauding, I will, even if I don't agree with how it was executed, I will applaud Naughty Dog for being brave enough where I think the original ending in Last of Us is incredibly brave to say, like, you don't get a satisfying ending and you don't know the outcome of it. I think it was pretty brave of them to have the twist that the entire second half of the game is a character that you didn't know was in it. I think that's a pretty brave decision. Even if I don't like the outcome of it, I still think that they should be commended for taking that risk.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Pretty good.
Do you remember it yet?
I'm trying to pull it out of my head.
What are you trying to remember?
Something I was gonna say.
Oh, I believe in you. You'll get there.
I was just saying, I don't know how much time we gotta fill. Eric, how's life going? How's Apex?
You know, life is life. I haven't played Apex.
Oh, I remember it now.
Okay, good.
There we
good.
go. All right, cool. We'll just
Okay.
cut all that out.
Yeah, this is kind of like a side note. So, the girl that plays Ellie, like the voice actor that plays Ellie, her
Ashley
name is
Johnson.
Ashley Johnson, and the voice actor that played Abby, Joseph, who is Abby.
Laura Bailey. I met her in real life.
Joseph met her in real life. I was very jealous.
Mhm.
So here's this interesting fact: Laura Bailey and Ashley Johnson are on a show together that's on YouTube and Twitch, and it's also in a podcast form called Critical Role. It's a Dungeons and Dragons podcast or Dungeons and Dragons show. It's a very large like thing on the
Right,
internet.
it's very popular.
Very popular. So here they're both on that together, and they both made this game together. Interesting enough fact: Laura Bailey's husband is also in the game as a Rattler gang member.
I believe it's Travis Willingham.
Travis Willingham, who is also on Critical Role. And then the DM of Critical Role is also in the game.
Matt Mercer.
And Matt Mercer, and he plays, I don't know if you guys remember this. I only remember it because I'm like, oh, that's Matt Mercer. Remember when you release all those people from the jail on the compound?
Mm-hmm.
The only dude that talks is Matt Mercer.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah. The only dude that
Wow.
says something out as all those people are leaving. He's like he's called like the prison leader. Is the DM. So it's like very funny because I kept seeing all of these photos of all 4 of these people on set of Last of Us, like doing like the motion capture, and I was like, this is very cool. And that's also what forced me to play
So what
this
you're
game.
telling me is that the final section of that game wasn't to resolve a plotline between Ellie and Abby. It was just to get all the Critical Role cast in.
Yeah, that's it.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. So that's all I got. That's the last thing I got to say about it. I'm done talking about The Last of Us 2 for like ever. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for having this fun discussion. I had an absolute blast. I don't know about you guys, but this was a great
You
podcast.
said it wasn't going to be fun, and it was fun.
I'm talking about the
Jokes.
overall
great
experience.
time.
It was a great time. You know why? Because you guys made it better. I wasn't looking forward going into thinking about Last of Us 2 again, but you guys made it well worth it. So
Thanks. I still like my Ellie statue. It's still cool to me.
Is it the one where she's playing guitar?
Yeah,
I
Does
mean,
she
I'm
have all
all
the
for
fingers?
Ellie.
it does.
So Eric, where can we find you?
At @LostOmega_ on Twitter.
I say we wrap it up because I have to go improve my social status in Persona 4 Golden and figure out how to make more friends and play. You know, I'm on the basketball teams. It's no big deal, but like I'm friends with the captain.
God, okay.
You know.
Oh yeah, Joe.
Yeah,
Well, I gotta
like, no
go.
big deal.
I gotta go unfold a bunch of origami in Paper Mario anyway. So I gotta go too.
Oh,
We gotta go save the kingdom.
no
I
big
gotta
deal.
go run a galactic empire. No big deal.
Ooh,
No big
all right, Joe, take us home.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us in this very, I guess you can say, hot episode of Cup of
Steaming
Joe.
hot, if you will.
It was a bit, as they say, spicy. I want to thank our guests for being on the episode with us, and I want to thank my good friend Mr. Joseph Brown for being on the episode. I want to thank my girlfriend Jordan for coming in and giving me a hug. Thanks, Jordan.
Jordan.
And we'll catch you next time on another episode of Cup of Joe's.